Greta Thunberg. You know, I hope some people are now ashamed of themselves after her meltdown speech at a United Nations climate event. I hope all those activists, those reckless politicians who treated this chronically anxious and disturbed 16-year-old as their new messiah are now shocked into some sense at last. I hope they are now able to see that they have been party not just to a collective hysteria, but to an extraordinary child abuse. Now, before I show you Thunberg's speech, here are some things you first need to know about her, things that her followers hate me pointing out, as I've discovered. She is not the Messiah. She is just a depressed, an extremely anxious girl, and a very unhappy one. Her own parents, and Greta herself, have talked of her battle with depression and her chronic anxiety. And they talk of how Greta was so anxious that she couldn't even go to school, couldn't eat for 2 months, couldn't speak at all for long periods. They've talked too of her autism or her Asperger's syndrome, and they've tried to claim that this was actually a superpower, Greta called it.
Om jag inte hade haft Asperger och varit så konstig så hade jag fastnat i det här sociala spelet som alla andra verkar vara så förtjusta i. Och men...
But Asperger's is very rarely an advantage. In this case, Greta Thunberg seems, as she said, to lack the ability to see the grey between the black and white, to be able to compromise. She says that's a strength, it's actually a weakness. And she seems chronically attracted to apocalyptic visions, chronically attracted to fear.
I want you to panic. I want you to feel the fear I feel every day. And then I want you to act.
That is why it is child abuse to feed such a child crazy, threatening visions that global warming is going to wipe her out, wipe out the planet. And it is child abuse to then applaud this poor, fearful child when they get her up on the stage to repeat back to them those dark visions. Repeat those dark visions to the deceitful adults who trained her so terribly. That is child abuse. So, having said that, now let me show you the results of that abuse. A girl trembling up on that UN stage, crying, a girl from a rich country, a girl pampered by the elites, a girl who nevertheless thinks her life has been destroyed, and she just can't handle that fear.
I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering, people are dying, entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you? But the young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future generations are upon you. And if you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you.
I have such contempt for all the adults who made this girl cry with their global warming lies. Like the UN Secretary General, who met and encouraged Thunberg, and himself yesterday got up on that stage so full of himself to tell bizarre untruths.
Nature is angry, and we fool ourselves if we think we can fool nature, because nature always strikes back. And around the world, nature is striking back with fury. In May, I went to the island nation of Tuvalu, where I witnessed an entire country fighting for its very existence against the rising seas.
Lies, lies and lies. In fact, an Auckland University study of Tuvalu found that over the past 4 decades, 3/4 of Tuvalu's islands actually grew. The total land area increased 3% nearly. And around the Pacific is exactly the same story. 43% of islands growing, another 43% of them stable. Not drowning, they're growing. But it's incredible the lies that I hear repeated almost daily by politicians and journalists and activists, people who should know better. And they tell these lies to children like Thunberg. Lies like cyclones are increasing. Well, no, they're not. Not here and not around the world. On it goes. More people are dying from climate disasters, they say. And like you just heard Thunberg repeat, no, they're not. You check the statistics from the International Disaster Database. The risk of dying from a climate-related disaster has actually dropped 99% over the past decade. Children have never been less likely to die from climate catastrophes, yet there is poor Greta Thunberg, never more convinced that she'll actually be killed. Who has done this to her? You know, it's those brainless activists and those shameless politicians like US Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, frightening them with totally fake stories that they've only got a few years left to live.
The world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. And your biggest issue is your biggest issue is how are we going to pay for it? And like, this is the war. This is our World War II.
12 years left to live. Such filthy untruths. It's child abuse. I'll repeat it, child abuse. And you just saw the results. Shame on the people who turned Greta Thunberg into their child messiah, into their child martyr.